Regardless of how many years you've been in business, you can be in business for 20, 30, does not matter. When you want to do business with the government, you have to take it back to the foundation. So you have to become a credible business. And what does that mean? That means you have to have your paperwork in order. That means you have to have your taxes in order, right? Simple things. That means if you're an LLC, you have to understand that an LLC comes with operation agreements, and it comes with bylaws, and then there's an EIN, and there's all these other things. And you have to have a business bank account. Now, these are the things, had I known when I first started my business, I wouldn't have been broke for 5 years trying to figure it out, right? Because the same thing that it takes for you to attract the government and to become a premium entrepreneur for the government is the same thing that funders look for when they're looking to fund you, the banks look for when they're, in order for you to get the yes, when you look for funding, the same thing. So business foundation is number one. Local, state, and federal. There's 3 levels of government. So the local city and county has your money. Are you gonna go get it? Your state has your money. Are you gonna go get it? Okay, now the federal government has your money. Who's gonna go get it? All right, are you really gonna go get it? Right? Specifically because the government has a big fat check with your name on it. The US federal government spent over $6 trillion on small business, on products and services. $6 trillion, right? On the onset of COVID. In 2020, right in the middle of COVID, that $6 trillion spend went up to $10 trillion nearly. The US government, the federal government, was obligated to spend a minimum of 26% with small business entrepreneurs. I show you how to actually create generational wealth with government contracts. In fact, I show you how to make the government fund your legacy. You're here because you want to create generational wealth. You're here because you want to make so much money that you won't know what to do with it. You cannot invest and not do nothing.
Up next to the OML stage, she's built a multi-million-dollar company in under 3 years. She's helped over 400 entrepreneurs make $4 million. She's a wife and mom of 4, building a business with a baby, y'all. She's the owner of a new launch accredited school called Dream Achiever Academy. Y'all give it up for Karwanna D.
Everybody, hey,
I'm money. I got money.
Hey,
Money.
I got money. Hey, yeah. All right. So, by show of hands, how many small business entrepreneurs are in the house? Small business. By definition, a small business is any business that has under 500 employees. So again, how many small business entrepreneurs are in the house today? All right, I see you. Now, did you know in 2019, the US federal government spent over $6 trillion, somebody say $6 trillion, on small business, on products and services. $6 trillion, right? On the onset of COVID. In 2020, somebody say 2020, right in the middle of COVID, that $6 trillion spend went up to $10 trillion nearly, right? Now, the US government, the federal government, was obligated, somebody say obligated, to spend a minimum of 26% with small business entrepreneurs. So everyone that had their hands up, they were obligated to do business with you, okay? That's nearly $2.6 trillion that was on the table. And my question to you is, how many of you got your piece of that pie? A couple hands, maybe 1 or 2, a couple hands, okay? All right. How many of you want to know how to get your piece of the pie so that you're never ever leaving that money on the table again? By show of hands, say me. If you want to know how to get the money, say me. All right. I'm Dr. Karwanna D. I'm a government contracts expert who actually help entrepreneurs, high-level entrepreneurs. Any high-level entrepreneurs in the house? I show you how to actually create generational wealth with government contracts. In fact, I show you how to make the government fund your legacy. How many of you are here because you're ready to create a legacy? You're here because you want to create generational wealth. You're here because you want to make so much money, somebody say so much money, that you won't know what to do with it. All right? So is it okay that I share with you a 4-step methodology that I teach my clients who pay me upwards of $30,000 plus to show them how to add an additional $500,000 to $1 million a year at minimum to their business bottom line? Would you like to know what that is? All right, so I'm gonna share some of those secrets, right, with you. But before I get into that, is it okay if I share a little bit about who I am? Is that okay with y'all? Y'all wanna know about Dr. Karwanna? Who is this girl in blue, right? Who is this girl talking about I got money, right? The great thing is that I'm showing y'all how to get money today. So take notes. This is going to be the most important information that you can ever acquire, right, when it comes to your business. So I grew up in San Francisco, California. Anybody from the West Coast? Yeah. But I also love the East Coast because I'm always on the East Coast. East Coast, you know, the business owners on the East Coast just think differently, right? Just differently, just a whole different level. Right, so I grew up in San Francisco, small area called Bayview Hunters Point. So I'm the 4th of 7 children. That's a lot. That's a lot of kids. My mama had children, right? I'm from Louisiana, so Louisiana in the house. I'm from Louisiana, so my mama had children. You know what I'm saying? That means children, kids. So I grew up 4 of 7 children. We always had what we needed, but just a little bit, not always, of what we wanted. Anybody ever wanted more than what you had? Anybody want more than what you currently have? All right, so growing up in Bayview Hunters Point, all I saw around me was blight. I saw blight. I saw drug addicts. I saw violence. And during the time, I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. Any 80s babies in the house? I grew up in the 80s. I mean, that was the best era ever. The 80s, period. I'm just saying, it was the best era, right? And so I grew up in the 80s, and this was around the time where you started to see the rise of like drive-by shootings and things like that in my neighborhood, where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm from. You started seeing the rise of that stuff. And for me, I knew that I needed to do something different in order to have a different result than the environment around me. I also knew that society, they had a plan for me. I was supposed to be a statistic. According to the statistics around me, I was supposed to be a teen mom. I was supposed to graduate or drop out of high school and never graduate. I was supposed to end up on welfare. I was supposed to have like 20 kids with 20 different baby daddies, all that stuff, right? But because of the covenant, somebody say covenant, I made a decision at an early age to give my life to Christ. And he has kept me. Oh my God. He has kept me, right? And so growing up, of course, I had friends and everybody pretended like they were so rich. Everybody pretended like they were so rich. So I thought I was the only one that ate government cheese, that kind of cheese, right? I thought I was the only one in my circle whose parent drove a station wagon. So we drove a station wagon. It was blue and brown. I'll never forget. Because I was embarrassed. Like I was embarrassed growing up. But now I understand the process was so necessary, right? I count it all joy. But I knew at an early age that in order for me to do something different, I bought into the American dream. Anybody bought into the American dream? Right? So we were all told the American dream is to what? Go to school, get an education, go to college, get a degree, get married, have some churn, buy a house with a picket fence. What comes after that? That was so boring. Okay, so I did that, right? And it wasn't until when I got into college, I realized something. So I was the first to graduate from high school. I was the first to go to college to get a college degree. And I went on, of course, to get my master's and my PhD and all those different things. But I was the first in my family to try to break the generational curse. I had no direction, but I knew that I needed to do something different. So while all my friends were in the clubs and were partying, was drinking, and was smoking, I was in the library applying for applications, studying and learning and trying to figure out how to not be a product of my environment, right? And so I did the American dream. I went to school. I was the first top paid African American young lady at the age of 21 making the top money in the state of California. I did that. So I was making about 6 figures at 21. That's a lot of money. So good pay, good benefits, great job, all the things. But guess what? I was also overworked, underpaid. I couldn't utilize any of the skills that I had went to school for and have accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, right? So when I looked to the left of me on the job, I would see people who dropped out of middle school. I would see people who dropped out of high school making the same amount of money that I was making with a college degree. And I was like, wait, something's not right. Anybody ever felt that before? Like, something, what's wrong? So the first aha moment that I had was like, wait, first they told me that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Did they tell y'all that too? I mean, we've been duped, right? So my coach, Myron Golden, he talks about the miseducation institution system that teaches us the things that are all wrong, right? And so I joke with my kids today. I have teenage kids, and then I have a little baby here around here somewhere. So I have teenage children, and they're like, so I teach my kids financial literacy. I teach them about credit. They're in high school. I teach them about, stacking your money and entrepreneurship and all those things. So they're like, Mom, why they don't teach us these things in school? I was like, because the school is not designed for you to succeed. The school is designed for you to become a large taxpayer. Because the middle class and the working class is taxed the most. Did you not know that? The tax code was not written for ordinary people. It was written for who? Entrepreneurs. But the problem is most entrepreneurs don't understand their power. Y'all want to know how to get your power back? Y'all want to know how to minimize on taxes and all those different things? So I'm going to share with you some of those things. So here I am, great job, all the things. I'm thinking I'm living the American dream, all those things. But I was working so hard and I started having children, right? And what I realized is that I'm spending so much time on the job that my baby is calling the babysitter mom. So I was burdened by that. I'm like, dang, I'm not spending enough time. So I get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, to go drop the baby off at the daycare, to go to work for 8 to 10 hours for somebody else, and to come home to have time to cook dinner and then go to bed, and then to get up the next day and do the same thing over and over and over again. And I felt empty. And I felt dead. Anybody ever felt that before? Because I know some of y'all have had some jobs before, and many entrepreneurs are working their way out of their jobs right now. So I want you to understand that I understand, right? So I understand. So for me, I knew and I had heard that entrepreneurship was going to be the true way out. So I started educating myself. They say education is the key, but it's the application. It's the self-education, not the institutions. The institution education is not the key, right, to success. Self-education and applying that education is the true way. So I started a business, entrepreneur, right? But I started a business the way that I was taught by society. I started a business thinking I have to bootstrap my way to the top. Anybody ever thought you had to bootstrap your way to the top? They tell us that it takes 2 to 5 years to grow a business. Anybody ever was told that? Yeah, you were told that 2 to 5 years to grow a business. You need venture capital, you need a loan, and then when you go to the bank to ask for a loan to start your startup business, which they say they have startup money, and then guess what happens? You get denied, right? So for the first few years in business, I was broke. I was working hard, 40 to 60 hours a week, and I wasn't making no money. Anybody ever been there? Anybody ever worked hard and was not making any money, and you're just like, it just doesn't add up, right? Right? But I knew I couldn't give up because I would see success around me, right? And so here's the thing. It was okay for a moment. I was okay struggling. So I was barely making $20,000 to $30,000 a year with a video production, film, photography company. And I was just like, I'm just tired, right? But I couldn't give up. I knew that I couldn't give up. So what I did was I started investing in mentorship. Mentorship is the best thing you can invest in. Mentorship. If you don't have a mentor, if y'all not in the inner circle and have not applied yet, you must do it because it will literally change your life, right? So here I am. I'm struggling in business, and I'm thinking I made it. I got a business. I'm married to a minister at the time. I was married to a minister. Now I'm married to a millionaire. I was married to a minister, and we were broke. How we in the church? How we in the church talking about our Father is rich in houses and land. He holds the world in the palm of his hand, and we broke. Nah. But I counted all joy because it was part of the process, right? And so there was a time where things weren't working out. We were getting ready to go through a divorce. And this minister told me, you got to figure it out. We're friends now, so I can tell the story, right? It's no hard feelings. So, I thank him because had I not had to figure it out, I wouldn't be the girl that got money today, right? So I'm like, figure it out. I got kids, I got bills. My son, who was about 5 or 7 years old at the time, he had literally started going through a growth spurt, and he was growing out of his clothes. But I didn't really have no money. Like I said, I was working really hard and I was making a little bit of nothing. So all I had was to pay the bills, just to keep a roof over our head. And he had literally, I remember very clearly, he had literally started walking holes to the bottom of his shoes. And there was nothing that I can do about it. There was nothing. Have you ever felt like, your back was up against the wall as an entrepreneur, and then the little devil on your shoulder says, you got to go back to work. Anybody ever felt that? You ever had that voice that say, this is not going to work. You need to go back to work where it's safe. But what I come to realize is that working for someone else is not safe. In fact, working for yourself, that's the safest place. That's the safest place, right? And so going through divorce, and I had remembered during my childhood, I found myself in that moment remembering I did not want to be the struggling single mom, even though my mom did everything that she could to provide, and she did provide. She did her best. But I didn't want to live that same story. I remembered very clearly hearing my mom cry at night. And I didn't understand because she had 7 children. So, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't understand why would she be in a room crying. It's because we asked for lunch money, we asking for clothes, we want Adidas and Pumas and all those, and we couldn't have it and she couldn't provide it. That's why she was crying. So I remember very clearly, and I remember how I felt. The moment that one time I asked my mom for lunch money. Anybody remember paper food stamps? Paper food stamps? And she gave me paper food stamps. And I was like, how am I going to spend paper food stamps around my friends, right? I'm like, so I got smart, started thinking, I know what. During the time when I grew up, they had penny candies. You could buy a candy for a penny. So I'm like, penny candy. So I'm 99 cents here, 99 cents there, and we're going to go to the store and get a hard bun sandwich and some chips and a cream soda, right? But I knew, at that moment, I had made the decision. I made the decision to cut myself off from poverty. I made the decision to do that a long time ago. I did not know that entrepreneurship was going to be the vehicle that brought me there. And so, after making that decision, I knew that I needed to start a business. I did not know how that business was going to bring me wealth. going through divorce, and guess what happens? I met a black billionaire. He was a multi-billionaire. And I was freelancing, doing some photography, building his websites. And I was like, you know what? I had asked the question, how did you do it? Sometimes people don't want to ask the question because you feel like it's taboo. You're not supposed to ask nobody, how did they do it? Nobody's going to want to share their secret. And he took a serious look at me and he said, the same thing that you're doing for me, the government will pay you 100 times more for the same amount of work, the same amount of time, right? That's all I needed to know. And so I'm going to share with you how the government got your money. So I have a free book, free copy for you, for all of you that are here. I have a book. It's called Don't Duck the Government Because They've Got Your Money. And it's all about how you can make millions pitching and winning government contracts, right? Because most of the time you think of government, you're thinking the ops. You're thinking taxes. You're thinking Uncle Sam. You're thinking the feds, right? But don't duck them because guess what? The government's got your money. And I'm right now about to show you how to get it. Is that all right? Okay. Can I use that? Okay. So 3 things that I'm going to share with you. Number 1, I'm going to show you who you need to be. Somebody say, who I need to be? Who I need to be. To attract the government. I'm going to show you what you need to do. Somebody say, what do I need to do? To keep the government's attention. Right? And I'm going to show you how you can attain some of the hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars that's on the table for you in your business. All right, so first step, number 1. So we've been all week, all the speakers have been talking about being a premium entrepreneur and attracting a premium client. Is it okay if I use the, okay. So I just need like a pen for somebody. Oh, it's right here? I'm sorry. On the left? Oh, is that on? Okay. Is it on? Can y'all see? Okay. So, number 1, in order for you to attract the premium buyer, you have to become a premium entrepreneur, right? Yourself. Which means that business foundation is key, right? So every story starts with the beginning. Somebody say every story starts with the beginning. Right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Once upon a time, there was. A long, long time ago, here established this, and so on and so forth. So, the business foundation, regardless of how many years you've been in business, you can be in business for 20, 30, does not matter. When you want to do business with the government, you have to take it back to the foundation. Somebody say, take it back to the foundation. All right? So, you have to become a credible business. And what does that mean? That means you have to have your paperwork in order. That means you have to have your taxes in order, right? Simple things. That means if you're an LLC, you have to understand that an LLC comes with operation agreements, and it comes with bylaws, and then there's an EIN, and there's all these other things. And you have to have a business bank account. Now, these are the things, had I known when I first started my business, I wouldn't have been broke for 5 years trying to figure it out, right? Because the same thing that it takes for you to attract the government and to become a premium entrepreneur for the government is the same thing that funders look for when they're looking to fund you. And guess what? The banks look for in order for you to get the yes, when you look for funding, the same thing. So business foundation is number 1. I'm just going to put BF. So business foundation is number 1. That's number 1. Number 1. Number 2.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information competition, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching.
So, right, how many women own businesses are in the house? Women? All the women representing? All right. How many minority entrepreneurs in the house? Any veteran business owners in the house? How many disabled business owners in the house? All right. Any small business owners in the house in general? Are you local to your city? Any local businesses in the house? All right. So now it's not enough just to raise your hand and say that I am those things. There's a such thing called small business certifications. Now, here's the thing that is so very key. You don't have to have certifications to do business with the government. But guess what? Certifications gives you leverage, right? It helps you skip the line. Anybody ever been to an amusement park and you've heard of the fast track or the fast pass, right? What does the fast pass allow you to do? Skip the line, right? So certifications allows you to skip the line where there are so many larger businesses who have greater capacity that are competing and going after these government contracts. You get to skip the line and participate in a pool of money. Somebody say pool of money. That is for women-owned money. Pool of money. That is for minority-owned. Pool of money. That is for small businesses. Pool of money. That is for veteran-owned businesses. Pool of money. That is for LGBT-owned businesses. Hello. Pool of money. That is for disadvantaged small businesses. How do you know if you're a disadvantage? Well, if you have under 500 employees, you are at a disadvantage. Anybody at a disadvantage today? All right. Looks like everybody. All right. So certifications is key, right? And there are various levels of government, local, state, and federal. There's 3 levels of government. How many levels of government are there? 3. How many? 3 levels of government, local, state, and federal, right? So the local city and county has your money. Are you going to go get it? Your state has your money. Are you going to go get it? How are you going to go get it? Who's really going to get it? Okay, now the federal government has your money. Who's going to go get it? All right, are you really going to go get it? Right? Specifically because the government has a big fat check with your name on it. And now watch this. When I was going through the divorce and I was trying to figure out how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to buy my son these shoes, right? 2 weeks after the divorce was final, and I'm not an advocate of divorce, but it happened for a purpose, right? 2 weeks, God released abundance into my life. I had started the process while I'm grieving and going through this relationship split and all those different things. I had started the process of getting certified. I started the process of building my business foundation. Literally 2 weeks later, I landed a contract, my first contract. It was for $70,000 for 56 hours of work, taking pictures. I heard somebody say, what? 56 hours taking pictures, right? And so, now watch this. I don't know what it is that you guys do. We have consultants who teach people how to have better health. In here, I believe there are some consultants who teach people how to get their business credit right. There's some janitorial cleaning companies. There's maybe some construction, some contractors, some trades, some electrical, right? Regardless of what it is that you do, marketing, whatever, the government has a big fat check with your name on it. And literally, there are pools of money as you're driving down the street. Now watch this. You probably never thought of this before. So every single time you're driving down the street, if you see a piece of landscape that's been beautified, guess what? That landscape was a government contract to a small business who had to beautify that landscape. When you're driving down the street and you see stop signs, somebody say stop sign. That stop sign was a government contract given to a small business entrepreneur. Now, when you're driving down the street and you see a bus station, somebody say bus station, and you see the marketing of photos and advertisement, that bus station was a government contract that was obligated, somebody say obligated, to give to a small business entrepreneur. Now, I don't know about you, but that first contract that I landed, I said, I think I discovered something. And I coined it the $1 trillion secret to government contracts, because literally I discovered trillions of dollars that nobody's participating in. I mean, a whole bunch of people are not participating in, right? And what I did was I went back and I repeated the steps and I landed another one on top of that simultaneously. And then I landed a third one on top of that simultaneously. And then I landed a fourth one and a fifth one and a sixth one. And before I knew it, I had been managing 12 to 15 government contracts of similar size and larger for similar days of work. And I had a multi-million-dollar business. Now, coming from the hood, I'm coming from the hood. You know what I'm saying? So coming from the hood, that's life-changing. That changed my life. And I realized that it does not take 2 to 5 years to grow a business. Now, with the right information, somebody say without the right information. With the right information, you could be highly profitable in your first 30, 60, 90 days of doing business with the government. I have clients right now who's never made money in their business. I have clients who've been struggling at the $80,000 mark who are right now landing within 5, 6 to 8 weeks. $500,000, $250,000, multiple $1 million government contracts. Why? Because the government has your money with your name on it. What's your name? Yeah, your name. Kristen. The government has your money. What's your name? Rob Shepard. The government has your money. What's your name? Kamala. The government has your money. Anybody else want to shout out your name? All y'all. The government has your money. What are you going to go do about it? Go get it, right? Okay, so now here's the thing. You can't go get it if they don't know you exist. You can have certifications all day. You have a business license, EIN, you can have all that stuff all day. If they don't know that you exist, you're not reaching out to them and letting them know, here I go. They're like, I got this money. It's a pool of money for women-owned entrepreneurs. And you're not like, here I go. Somebody say, here I go, right? Like the more boxes you can check, the more pools of money you get to participate. And guess what? There is no limit to how many contracts you can land. No limit, right? So, marketing. You have to find a way to market your capabilities. What do you do? Now, there's a few people who ask me like, how do I make an offer? Myron has been talking about making more offers, making better offers, Offer Mastery Live, and all those different things. How do I make an offer and package that to the premium, the #1 biggest purchaser of business products and services in the world? How do I make an offer? I don't even know what to sell to the government. Anybody ever felt that way? Maybe you're thinking that right now, right? So there's a worship song by Jay Moss. I love it. And he talks about if I were a drummer, I would use my cymbal. If I was a speaker, I would use my voice. If I was a dancer, I would use my art. So whatever it is, the Bible says that your gift will make room for you. Now, my gift has made room for me. My gift was video production. I also have the gift of helps. So for me, I knew and I learned very early in government contracts, if I became a problem solver, that I'll never be broke again. Problem solving, right? Using your gifts, whatever it is that you've been passionate about, the government will buy that. The government has a problem. Anybody want to be a problem solver? Yes. You want to solve the government's problem? One of their problems is if they got too much money and they need to give it away. Who want to help them solve that problem? You want to help them solve that problem, right? Another one of their problems is they need to give it to who? You. They need to give it to you. They got to. The government cannot buy its own lights. They cannot buy their own cameras. They cannot buy their own IT services. They cannot clean their own buildings. They have to leverage and utilize small businesses to get these things done. That's the biggest kept secret that will literally transform your business. And so for me, we closed our first million. That's my husband right there, my baby, y'all. That's the rich husband. I got me $1 million husband who got $1 billion ideas, right? So we closed in our first $1 million home, and of course in California, $1 million ain't nothing. $1 million in California don't go a long way. But I'm grateful because the neighborhood that I grew up in, I don't have to live there no more. I have decisions, right? I get to decide. The government funded my legacy, you guys. They're currently funding my legacy. They're currently buying land. The government is buying my land. The government has bought my home. The government is buying my car. All those different things. Who would like to have the government buy your house, your nest home, your dream home? Fund your land. Fund your legacy. Help you pass down hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars for generations and generations to come, right? Do you really want it? Yeah. Do you really want it? Yeah. All right, so you have to become a premium buyer. You have to become a premium entrepreneur. You have to get yourself certified for all the socioeconomic disadvantages that you have. Now, I used to think because I was a black girl from the hood, woe is me. They're not giving me loans. They're not helping me. But guess what? When I learned about government contracts, I said, I'm the black girl from the hood. Woe is me. All those different things. Woe is me. You say you got some money for me? Oh yeah, I'm at a disadvantage. Yeah, I'm highly disadvantaged. Yeah, all those different things. Because you can leverage your socioeconomic disadvantages to get a piece of the $1 trillion pie, the multi-trillion dollar pie. Now the numbers that I shared in the beginning, that's just a federal spend, y'all. There's even so much more money when it comes to local and state. And you know what the problem is right now? There's a lot of refugees coming to the United States, and guess what they're going to need? Food, clothes, health, education, housing, literacy, translation services, all those different things, right? So when you think about those things, do you think you have a solution to that problem? Do you think you can help the government solve some of these problems? Do you think $250,000, $500,000, and even an extra $1 million check from the government year after year, year after year, and year after year can help you with your business? This is how you do it, okay? So, the other step is, you have to respond to the opportunities. There's opportunities every single day. And you will be surprised because guess what? People like all these big moguls, all these big successful companies that we talk about, Amazon, guess what they have? Government contract. Elon Musk, government contract. Tesla, yeah, has a government contract. And the spaceship that he's building, government contract. Right? All these companies, Nikon for all the photographers, government contract. StarKist Tuna, government contract. So this is the secret that they didn't tell us, right? So when I learned this information, I said, you know what? I'm going to tell everybody that I know. It's my job to empower and impact the business community because guess what? The solutions to the world society sits right in this room. It's sitting right in this room right now. You're the solution for homelessness. You're the solution for lack of health care. You're the solution for the government, and they need you, right? And so I have a free book, a free download of my book. I'm going to give you guys a free copy. So if you go to govconconnect.com, you can get a copy, a free copy of my book. And then my husband, who has the orange Scan Me shirt, you can just scan that, and it'll take you to the book as well. So here's the thing that I want to leave you with because I have about a minute left. For those of you who have not and yet taking action to take your business to the next level. Anybody, I know we have a few millionaires, but anybody not there yet and you want to know how you can get there? Yeah. Land a government contract. Seriously. If you could get 4 $250,000 contracts, guess how much that is? $1 million. If you can get 2 $500,000 contracts, guess how much that is? $1 million. There's no limit and there's none way to get a government contract, right? And you can get there faster, of course, with blueprints. Okay, so Steve Jobs, one of the most prolific leaders. He created the Apple iPhone, if you didn't know who he was. So Steve Jobs, he has a favorite quote. He said that you can never connect the dots looking forward, but you can always connect them looking back. And me, Dr. Karwanna D says, you can absolutely connect the dots looking forward if you design the life that you want to live. You have the power to design the life that you want to live. If you become the problem solver, you will never be broke again. If you position your business as a solutionary, somebody say, I am a solutionary. I am a solutionary. I am a solutionary. You solve problems and you will solve the problem of never having money again. You will be rich. You will be not only rich but wealthy. And you can pass that down for generations to come. That's my time. I'm Dr. Karwanna D. Thank you guys.